What's up guys, LeopoldTheBrave here, and today we're going to talk about a hypothetical Kung Fu Panda 4. And I thought it would be a fun topic because initially, the makers of the movie had 6 Kung Fu Panda films planned. They had a whole saga lined up and planned out. However, around the time of the third movie, their tone sort of changed, and this was around the same time that Illumination bought out DreamWorks. For example, in interviews asking about a fourth movie, they say they want each movie to end closed. So it feels like the ending is final and there aren't any open or loose ends, even though the previous film Kung Fu Panda 2 ended with a cliffhanger. So this obviously tells us their plans changed and they no longer have 6 movies in mind, which is unfortunate because I would have loved to see the structured story they built. So if they're not going to do it, why don't we give it a shot with my hypothetical Kung Fu Panda 4? And of course we're going to be ignoring the Amazon Prime Paws of Destiny series, just like Kung Fu Panda 3 ignored the Legends of Awesomeness series. So going into the fourth movie, we need to take a look back at what previous movies had set up. For example, Kung Fu Panda 2 built off the Kung Fu Panda 1 question, where did Po come from? Because obviously Mr. Ping isn't Po's real dad, so they built a whole movie and story off of that. And Kung Fu Panda 3's is pretty obvious, building off the cliffhanger plainly stated in Kung Fu Panda 2. However, Kung Fu Panda 3 closed things up very well. There are like no loose ends. Even Chi as a main plot point got introduced and resolved within the same movie. So now we are all asking, what now? Which I actually think is the perfect answer to what the next movie should be about. You see, in the third movie, we know Po's been doing this whole Dragon Warrior thing for a while, and Kai was his big hurdle. And then he discovers that being the Dragon Warrior isn't just this one-time prophecy thing, he learns that he's actually Oogway's successor. So in Kung Fu Panda 4, I think Po is gonna feel like he has even bigger shoes to fill than he already thought he did. He'll start reading and studying Oogway's history, trying to contact him in the spirit realm so he can ask him questions, just try to retrace Oogway's steps, retread where he went, and try to stay ahead of the curve so he doesn't fall behind or feel like a bad Dragon Warrior. For example, he's gonna be thinking, okay, so after Master Oogway fought Kai, he climbed up this mountain. And I fought Kai recently, so I guess, next I gotta go climb that mountain. Stuff like that. But I think, as we all know, Po doesn't need to follow Oogway's path, he has to find his own path. So I think Oogway has some tricks up his sleeves to help Po learn that lesson. For example, when Po contacts him for answers, Oogway could just give him incorrect answers, and perhaps Oogway wrote some incorrect facts in his history. So when Po goes to follow it all, things go wrong, things spiral out of control, and Po finds himself facing a gigantic new powerful trial that Oogway had never had to face before. There would be no prophecy behind it, no legend behind it, this trial would just be a part of Po's life. And there we have it, there's our A-plot and lesson. Po learning that he has plenty of time and that he can pace himself, and learns that he shouldn't try to be something that he isn't. He's not Oogway. Oogway is already Oogway. He's Po. Now for the B-plot, because I don't feel like the A-plot is too hefty for a side story to fit in. But it should still, of course, be related, so I think the B-plot is going to occur during something Po tries to achieve in the A-plot. For example, finding a successor. I mean, Oogway found Po, so Po should find someone too, right? Of course, but not yet, and because Po is going to try to rush this to follow in Oogway's footsteps, Oogway is going to lead him to the completely wrong person. So Po is going to meet someone and bring them along on his Become Oogway to-do list, training them during his journey, getting some multitasking done. But here's the twist. The student that Po picks doesn't actually want to be the Dragon Warrior. He wants to do something else, form his own path and go that way. He's sure of what he wants to do and what he wants to become. And through this student, Po is going to learn the lesson that he needed to learn by the end of the movie. He's going to stop trying to be Oogway and learn to form his own destiny, just like his student didn't want to be Po and would rather form his own destiny. So even though this random kid doesn't become the next Dragon Warrior or the next big thing, he still contributes to the movie and Po's journey in a big way. And there's our B-plot. Now what should Shifu and the Furious Five be doing? And the answer is actually quite simple. They're just going to follow and go along with Po on his self-inflicted quest. If it's something Oogway told him to do, they're obviously going to follow Po. Because it's Oogway. I think the Furious Five are a bit underrated when it comes to how much they do. Like, people talk about how they're never used, but they were in the entirety of the second movie, and they helped a lot in the first movie, and even went after Tai Lung themselves. And even though the third movie is where they did the least, they were still used quite a bit. Scouting for Kai, delivering messages, warning Po, not to mention the countless specials dedicated to them and their backstories. So I think it's totally fine that they remain present even when they're not important. And that's how they'd be used in this hypothetical fourth movie. The villain of this fourth movie though is going to be pretty tough and hard to come up with because like I said before, he's just going to be some random powerful trial Po comes across during his path to try and become Oogway. He's not some prophecy or legend that only the Dragon Warrior can stop. He's just an obstacle. How do we make him special? Well, he can be redeemable. Both Tai Lung and Lord Shen had opportunities to reform, but they just didn't take it. Well, perhaps this villain will. No, let's go further. Perhaps this villain will actually be Poe's successor. And it'll tie back to Poe's plot and lesson. Let's just say he's a pampered prince. Because of his high position, people are always telling him what to do and how to act, how to keep up a good appearance, yada yada yada, and he never gets a chance to have his own path because he's forced into others. There's so much pressure, everyone keeps getting onto him, and eventually he can't take it anymore. He just lashes out on everyone in the entire kingdom, so Poe has to come put a stop to him and calm him down. And once Poe sees what this forced path is doing to this guy, he'll realize what he's doing to his own student when he tries to force him to be the new dragon warrior. So Poe will let his student go and let him be whoever he wants to be, learning that people can form their own path, and then he'll explain it to the villain and tell the villain that they're not wrong for being upset about being forced into a path and that they should get to choose who they want to be. Then on a whim, just to see how much Poe really did mean that statement, the villain asks, "Could I even be the dragon warrior if I wanted?" To which Poe responds on a whim by himself without any input from Oogway, "Heck yeah!" And there you have it, Kung Fu Panda 4. We get to learn more lore about Master Oogway, the whole world of the series expands, Poe learns another lesson, and the plot of the entire series moves forward instead of just standing still. Now with Poe's new successor, Kung Fu Panda 5 and 6 have lots to pull from. But what do you guys think of this idea? Let me know in the comments below if you'd watch this movie or your ideas for a Kung Fu Panda 4, or even a Kung Fu Panda 5 based on this plot. Anyways, see you guys next time. Leopold the Brave, out.